Hi, I'm Chase,
And I'm Kyle.
and we're doing the student camp project for our AP United States History class, and our prompt is, what does it mean to be American? We're choosing a constitutional right, and that's the Second Amendment, which is part of the Bill of Rights attached to the Constitution.
The Second Amendment constitutes that a well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, shall not be infringed. Now we have a quote from George Washington, who supported guns. A free people ought not to only be armed, but disciplined, to which end a uniform and well-digested plan is requisite. And their safety and interest require that they should promote such manufactories as tend to render them independent of others for essential, particularly military, supplies.
And then we also have a quote from the opposite end of the spectrum from David Hogg. He was a part of the Parkland shooting in Florida at the high school. And he thinks that all assault weapons should be banned because they contribute to a lot of the mass shootings taking place in America. All right, so we're going to go back to the main idea of the topic, and that is, what does it mean to be American? And so first of all, I believe it means to have a bunch of rights that are listed out, especially in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and to just have those rights listed out for you by your government. And any rights that are not listed are in the hands of the people. And that's what it means to be American, and especially brought out through the Second Amendment, because it's very unique to America. Like not many other countries, if at all, have like the Second Amendment or allow their people to assemble a militia or have a gun. And I feel like that's a very uniquely American thing, because also we have the First Amendment here, which is freedom of speech, but many countries have something very close to that, and that's why we went with the Second Amendment over the First Amendment for the topic of this video. And I just believe that it's cool that owning a weapon and the right to self-preservation is a fundamental right in this country, and it's not a privilege as it is in many other places. And that's something that is very American, and that brings out an American identity, everyday life.
Many anti-gun activists will argue the Second Amendment only applied to the muskets and pistols present in the 18th century. However, there's a logical fallacy in this argument. Today, most everyone has some sort of smartphone in their pockets and computer in their home. We can post whatever we want on all sorts of social media outlets because of our freedom of speech laid out in the First Amendment. The Founding Fathers knew that technology and ideas would change over time. They knew that we could reach further places with trains, telegraphs, and eventually the phone, and they knew there would eventually be greater weaponry present. So we'd like to get that argument out of the way.
We're going to go back to our initial argument, and we want to repeat that having a gun is a fundamental right. It's not really a privilege in America, that being a part of the Bill of Rights. And I just wanted to say that many of the Founding Fathers also saw it as a right, including Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, and even Alexander Hamilton. I have a quote from him right here. He said, "If the representatives of the people betray their constituents, there is then no resource left but in the exertion of that original right of self-defense, which is paramount to all positive forms of government." And he said that in Federalist number 28, the papers. And he said that being a well-known Federalist who favored government control, and he still supported the right to keep and bear arms, which is very important in the context of this argument. And it's also very important because of its placement in the Bill of Rights, and I'm going to let Kyle talk about that.
And the Founding Fathers, when they were constructing the Constitution, they obviously thought that the right to bear arms was an important constitutional right because it was the Second Amendment, not the 3rd through 10th Amendment. So they obviously thought it had utmost importance in their Constitution.
Especially right behind freedom of speech, and then number 2 is the right to keep and bear arms. So it's a very, very important amendment. So again, we're going to go back to the central concept of this whole project, and that is, what does it mean to be American? And we believe that what it means to be American is laid out perfectly in the Second Amendment, because first of all, many of the Founding Fathers supported it, and they created the basis for what America is today. And also, there was a reason why we have the Second Amendment. So when we were a part of England, it was a very oppressive government, and they were taking away many of the colonists' rights. And that's the very reason the Founding Fathers really supported the Second Amendment, is because we never want to get caught up in that oppressive government again. And we will always want our rights to matter, the people's rights. And so I'm going to let Kyle speak more on what it means to be American to him.
And so it really stands out, the Second Amendment, it really stands out for America. It makes us unique as a country because no other country has this right to bear arms, so it makes us unique because if there's ever an oppressive government, the people can overthrow them because they have the right to bear arms, essentially.
So again, this has been Chase.
I'm Kyle, and thanks for watching our documentary on the Second Amendment. See you guys later.